everybody, and welcome back to the Hilltop Pillbox here in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. And today we are doing another game of Anniversary, and we're playing with Triple Crown out of Vancouver and Hell on Wheels out of Cornwall, the United Kingdom. So it's going to be a good tilt. I will be playing the Axis Powers, and the Allies will be played by the other two gentlemen. This will be their first time working together, so wish them all the best. Now, they get a bid of 12, as we normally do in these games, and they haven't told me what that bid is yet. But as soon as they do, we will get the game going. This is my tentative build. Got a bomber, 2 men, 2 artillery, and a tank, spending all 31. And the Japanese are building a bomber. Now, the Italians, we're going to kind of wait and see if the Americans try to come over here right away or not, but the Italians will probably build a couple of tanks. Now, my strategy this turn, or this game, is to capture Calcutta on turn 2. I figure if I can capture Calcutta on turn 2, we should be in pretty good shape with Japan. Now, that does mean I may have to forego much of an incursion into China. I will try to take Suiyuan and Hubei, but we will see if that is possible. It very much depends on what the Soviets do. If they back off, then I will do that, because I can always skedaddle back. And we will see what they plan on doing. I'm going to come after everything. I'm going to try to capture the Money Islands, Burma, and the Philippines, and kill the battleship. That is my plan with Japan and with the Germans, depending on their buy, which likely will be a destroyer somewhere either here or protecting the battleship. The Germans are going to likely, I don't know if I'll stick with this because everybody has a plan until they get hit, right? Is to build up a good bomber force again with lots of cheaper units. All right. Now, I know tanks punch harder, but the Soviets tend to load up with a bunch of men, which is cheaper for them. So I am going to, as I've heard the other terminology, dark skies over Europe. So we'll see if that works, and hopefully it'll be able to help keep navies at bay and pound the Soviets when I need to. And hopefully Italy can hold on. Italy is definitely the weak spot of this game, and hopefully I can take it. But if I can, or hold it, pardon me. But if I can take Calcutta on round 2, I'll be a happy camper. It's a big if. The dice sometimes just don't let you do what you want to do they? But hey, we'll hope the dice will be with us, and we'll see after round 1 if they've been kind. Okay, round 1 is done, and it's going to be interesting. This game is going to be interesting. So the Americans put a couple destroyers on here. I was able to sink the battleship for the cost of 1 fighter, and then I moved everything back here towards Japan. He stacked up the 7 Soviets here in Baracha, and you know that just spells trouble. So I had to kind of unhinge some of my plans, which allowed the Americans to hang on to the Philippines and allowed China to hang on to a couple of territories. So they've got a bit more population than normal, but I was able to take the Money Islands down here, as was my plan. Now the British have decided to head this way with their Australian small fleet and a man and artillery, and definitely a kill Germany first. In fact, they've actually pulled out of India, except for one guy, because I came down with overwhelming force into Burma, and he's decided to pull out. He transported guys to Egypt, and walking guys up from Rhodesia, or into Rhodesia. The Italians are no longer here because I brought them up into Ukraine to bulk up the Germans there. They absorbed some hits. Russians aren't strong enough to really punch back right now, and the Germans here will definitely have a decision to make. Now, what he has done is he has strengthened both wings, and probably too strong for me to take. I might be able to go into Leningrad, but that'd be tough. I've got 3 men, 2 artillery, 4 tanks, and I can send Two, three, four. I can send all my entire Air Force into Karelia, so I could probably take it. So that might be what I do. My other option, of course, is to go after this fleet here. I can send fighters, two fighters from Norway, and both of my bombers. So I'd have 2 3s and 2 4s versus his 2 3s and 2 2s, and that would be fun to kill. So I think I might do that. I might have to build heavy on men this time because the Russians, of course, have a lot of guys. They will be losing money, though. Now they're going to start hemorrhaging money, and that is always a good thing for the Axis to see. But the Americans and the British are definitely going to be doing their own version of Dark Skies. They've already got 4 heavy bombers here, and they built 2 more over here. So I think they're going to try to cripple German production. They gave it a whirl this time with the RAF, but only got 1 damage, so that was fortuitous, of course. But it looks like they're going to go after the German economy pretty hard. And that can be a good thing to do in this game. Now, the problem with that is that there's no guarantee you're going to get a lot of damage, as we see. Plus, you might get shot down before your bomber exacts the equal amount, the $12. Plus, when you're building so many bombers and no ground forces, you can't take any German territories. So I can load up with men here, which are cheap, and this is probably what they're thinking of doing, is making it impossible for me to take the Soviet Union with Germany. And that's a good play. If you can make Germany and Italy kind of get stuck in some sort of a quagmire here, that's good. But one problem might be India. At the end of next turn, there will be a Japanese factory in India. I do have to kill this fleet here, just in case he puts on a couple of guys and tries to take Rome or Balkans or something. With bomber support. So I definitely have to use my battleship to kill that. But I can back up with my carrier here, so his fighter in Egypt won't be able to just snipe my... I don't even think I might even bring transports there. I think I might head transports over to Africa. Maybe take Madagascar and start chipping away. I've got to make the British poor. Not much I can do to make America poor, but we will be hopefully taking the Philippines this turn anyway. Alright, this is shaping up even after round 1. I've never seen this sort of a thing before, so it will be interesting to see where we go from here. Looking forward to it. China, I've got to be careful. I can't let them get too strong. So we're going to be taking 2 territories this round, so they will be down to placing 2 men next round, and hopefully that will weaken them a bit. I might take a shot at Yunnan, but I definitely have to take India, which only has 1 guy now, so I can take it. But I also got to make sure he can't take it back. And that's the key. All right, round 2 coming up. We'll see what happens on the Eastern Front, and hopefully this fleet will be gone by the next time we see each other. All right, round 2 is in the books, and the U.S. has decided to invest fairly heavily here. They brought 2 men and a tank and a battleship, so $31 they have placed here in the Western Theater of the Pacific. But, as you can see, the Pacific is fairly devoid of things. I was able to take the Philippines last round, so they're a little cheesed at that, I think. I built a couple of subs, knowing that he's got his 4 destroyers here. I thought I'd build some cheap cannon fodder in case I have to turn around. But I also built 2 bombers, because I know I'm going to need them to subdue China. I was able to kill the Chinese fighter and the 4 men, but he just took back Yunnan without loss. So he's got 5 guys I still got to kill, and I've only got 3 guys in China. So this is going to take a little longer, but I didn't want to spend a lot of effort in China this game. And so far so good. Up north, I've been able to chip away at the Soviet economy. They're down by 4 on that side. And I was able to take India. That was very important for me. So I took India. I also took French Madagascar, but I had an exposed transport that he was able to auto-kill with his fighter. Now we are here. I destroyed a transport and a destroyer in 34 with my battleship. And the British took Libya, so the Italians had to come by and take it. And that was worth quite a bit to me. It's worth $6 because it's the 1 point, takes me up to 10, but then I get the bonus of 5 for no allied warships, surface warships. So I was able to get that. The Germans actually backed off to Algeria, but I think I might head back to Libya now. We'll see here. But we do have the Brits who have landed here. These are the guys from Australia have decided to come here to Brazil, and they could pose a little bit of a concern. So I have a choice what to do with my Japanese fleet. I may actually come south and swing around, and might even go take Brazil from the Americans just to chip into their cash a little bit. Over here we have a little bit of a development, and I have an opportunity, and I think this will be the only one I have this game. I did a can opener with Italy, and now I can send 8 tanks and 3 bombers and 1 fighter at his. He's got 13 men, so he's got 13 at 2. I'm going to have 9 at 3 and 3 at 4, so that's 12 that hit better than his 2s. The AA gun, of course, could ravage them, but I think this is my one shot to really hurt the Allies. He bombed me for 17 bucks this round. I haven't shot down any of his bombers yet, so hopefully that's coming. And with that kind of damage, obviously, that's pretty much 6 infantry. And I knew that that's what was going to be happening, so I thought I'd build a whole bunch of cheap units this last round. And I did make a lot of money, though. I was up around, well, let's see here, 37. And I had all my bonuses, so I made 52. I saved a couple, so I think I have 54 bucks. So I'm still going to have 37 bucks, I think, to spend. Obviously, a couple things are going to go up here into Karelia, and then I got to repair the damage. I'm not going to repair all the damage, but I'll repair enough to place my build, so that if he is going to pound me, he's got like 6 bombers here now, and he's built 2 more. So they're dedicated to this, let's bomb Germany into the Stone Age. But they can also use the bombers to land in France, and I have to be very cognizant of that. I was able to sink their fleet up here, but they built another one. He built a destroyer, cruiser, and battleship, and the Americans have joined them. So that's too much for my 3 bombers to handle, and so we are going to take a shot at Moscow, and we're going to build a whole whack of men here to play defense, just so we can shore up the lines, and we'll see what the Soviets want to do about that. If I can get in there and still have, 5 or 6 tanks left, I don't think I will, but if I do, he's going to have to use a lot of this power to try to take it back. And who knows, maybe Italy will take Moscow next. Not likely, but it is possible. But I got to take Moscow first. If I don't take Moscow, he'll obviously be able to load in a bunch of guys, and Italy won't have a chance of getting in there. So we're going to put all our eggs into that basket on this round. This is round 3 coming up, and if I can knock Moscow out in round 3, that could be it could be tough for them. Now he's going to take it back, but it'll still be a turn without a build, and I just have to be able to exploit that somehow. I'll be building a factory in India here, and that will certainly help. So we'll see what happens here on turn 3. The Americans certainly have a fleet to be dealt with over here. But hopefully my air power on this side of the board will be rather telling for that. Round 3 coming up. Well, that was easily the busiest round 3 I have ever seen in Axis and Allies Anniversary Edition. Alright, so looking at the Americans here, they are really building up in the Pacific, which I'm kind of happy about, because you'll see why. Germany's kind of under a bit of duress, but this will give them time to recuperate, so I'm pretty happy about that, actually. So over here, yeah, they've got lots of stuff. They built 3 more transports and built some guys, so they've got enough to fill up the transports. They've got enough. They got 8 units now, so they're probably wanting me to keep honest with Japan, which obviously I will have to do. Over here, I've been able to just kind of pacify a bunch of stuff, and the reason I put these guys here is because they can reach the Hawaiian Islands, and they can also get home quickly. So I like this because he can't hit it from the west coast, but if he comes too close, I'll be able to hit him. Same with these guys here, right? They can travel 3, and then the carrier can get them. So right now, if he comes to Hawaii, 3, 4, 5, 6, I can hit him with 3 bombers, 4 fighters, 2 subs and a cruiser here. So that would be enough to get rid of his Pacific fleet. So I think we're sitting pretty there. I'm still going to build probably 3 more subs this turn. I have a lot of money though, because I've been doing very well with Japan. And I have gotten some pretty good rolls this game. We'll talk about that in a second. We blitzed through Evenki and met up with our other guys who came back to Yakut, so a little bit of a unified front there. China is down to 4 guys. I killed the other 2 in Hubei and didn't lose anybody, so that was nice. So I'm hoping to knock them down to 1 territory this turn so they don't put anybody else on, and then I don't really have to worry about them too much. I'll be putting on 3 tanks in India. Over here in Africa, this is where the dice were nice for me. He had 2 men here and he had his fighter, so he brought in the 2 men, brought down the fighter, and on the first round, nobody got a hit. On the second round, he got no hits. I got 1 hit, and then he attacked again, and I got 2 hits. So I took out his fighter in Africa, so that was kind of nice. Up here, the Italians were able to take the Caucasus back, or not back, took the Caucasus because Germany did take Moscow. I still had 4 tanks left. They were all swept aside in the first counterattack by the Russians. They got 4 hits though. The Germans did, so my 3s really showed up, but didn't really put much of a dent into that big stack. And then they collected their $29 or something. But Germany had collected the $29 from the Russians before that, so we have quite a bit of money. The British, though, came up here and took Karelia. I had 3 units there and didn't get any hits on them, and they were able to take that on the first round of combat. Some good work by the Royal Navy. I did bring these guys up to the Baltics because I thought, you know what, I am going to keep taking Karelia back as often as I can. I'm going to keep feeding stuff up there because if I can keep them busy there, kind of nickel and diming them, that'll be great. I think the Americans here, who just took Norway, will likely build a factory this round, which could cause me a little bit of grief. And I do have to be wary that if they get too big of a transport fleet going over here, the Brits, that they might be able to land in Berlin. So I've got to be careful. Italy also has to be careful. I tried to kill there's a destroyer with the transport here with my Italian fighter. And I failed. I mean, I killed the destroyer, but he shot me down. So the transport remains, which is a little disconcerting. And now I don't think I can get to it. 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't get to it with my bombers. So that guy's going to join the fleet up there. And yeah, that's not so good. Yeah, I think they're going to keep pounding me here in the industry, but the 3 American bombers came in. I shot 1 down, and I shot down a British bomber this turn, so my 1s have heated up. They shot down a bomber and a fighter here in Russia, so I am out of fighters for Germany, and I only have 2 bombers left, so I'll probably build another bomber this turn, just to stay respectful anyway. And I bulked up France because, well, now they can land in 1 turn, especially when they use this one. They can land 6 units. They've got a couple of bombers and a couple of fighters. But with America building nothing over here, that gives me a little bit of an opportunity. So I have a healthy carrier and a couple of guys here. We're going to start chipping away at the British money. We're going to bring guys over here, building tanks there. And if he doesn't take the Caucasus back here, and I'm going to be moving in my German stuff to hopefully defend the Caucasus for the Italians, that could become a bit of a problem for him too. Not hard to defend against Italians, mind you. So who knows? Maybe I'll just load up in here, let him take it back with the Russians, and the Germans can take it, and maybe have a better chance of building. All great plans, aren't they? But they tend to go away as time goes on. So I wish I had 2 more bombers. I'd take a poke at that. But I've only got 2, and I'd likely lose both of them, and who knows, maybe I wouldn't kill anything with that battleship sitting there. But we have 5 American bombers here, 2 British bombers. So yeah, they are quite dedicated to bombing Germany. But now they've switched focus with the Americans, and I think this could be a problem for them. I think if they would have kept focusing on Germany, I would have been in a lot of trouble. But now I'll be able to withstand the Brits, I think, and I should be able to keep pressure on Moscow and keep chewing up Moscow money and Soviet money here. Yeah, just with the units I have. But time will tell. I might have to use these Germans. I might land here and kill that stack, and then use all the stuff I've got here to come in there with a bombard and a couple of fighters, and I might just kill the Egyptian contingent. And I think that'll take a little bit of wind out of their sails. But I don't have enough to spread myself too thin yet. And, yeah, not sure. Not sure, but hey, we'll find out. I got to repair some damage though, so let me go do that, and we'll tell you about turn 4 in just a moment. Alright, turn 4 is over, and we saw some interesting developments here. The Americans have come out into the Pacific, and I'd like to say they fell into my trap, and I still might attack that. I think I will attack that. But I don't have my bombers left, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. So over here we came down and took New Guinea with a couple of guys. So we got the loaded carrier, 2 loaded carriers and a cruiser, and 2 submarines. And we have a bomber that can reach that. So we've got a 4, 5 3s, 2 2s, and a couple of 1s with the carriers. And I might send the other plane down there too. We'll have a landing spot on the carriers, should they survive, which they likely won't. But I think if I can Zorch that, that might take the wind out of their sails. The Chinese are mildly resurgent here. I had them down to just Yunnan. So they didn't put anybody on, but they decided to spread out a little bit. So I'm going to hopefully kill a couple of those this turn. And yeah, I got to kill the guy in Hupei and Fujian so they don't go take Kiangsu from me. Got my shiny new tanks going here. And I did what I thought I didn't really want to do, but I think it might work out all right. I was able to take Egypt. I was able to kill all the British stuff. I was very, very fortunate, but there are my bombers. They came across from French Indochina. And yeah, so those 3 4s along with the bombard with the battleship were quite instrumental in defeating the Egyptian contingent. They still killed me for 2, but that was it. And I also used my fighters, thinking that maybe he might take a poke at this with his bombers, his American bombers. I thought, I better bulk it up a little bit. So the Italians have remained here in the Caucasus, but the Soviets were able to push them out of here quite easily. And the Americans, they got 3 bombers here. Well, they had 5, but I had 3 tanks in East Poland that he came by and strafed. I was able to knock 2 out of the sky, and but not 3. As you can see, they have decided to put their efforts now into a northern punch. The Americans have built a factory, and the British continue to bring things up there. Now, this here doesn't bother me as much. This gives me time. So I don't mind it when they go north, because I am perfectly safe down here now. So I don't need to spend any energy here, and I should be able to Zorch that American destroyer and transport, and I can auto-kill that transport. So there's no landings that can happen in France or Germany for at least 2 turns. So that puts my heart a little bit at ease. He does nothing down here that can transport anything. It's all wide open. So I'm just going to start gobbling up some of this stuff here. We got to kill this guy. He's annoying. That was a good move by him, by the way. Putting those guys in Persia slowed up my tanks for a turn. The Italians could have come down here to kill that, but I really, really wanted to hang on to Karelia the Caucasus, and he has, again, quite a bit of punch now, and so I wanted to make sure I could do that. And now that he's got all this allied stuff, he can be a little bit more devil-may-care with his things. So, but I've got a lot of stuff. I built 8 tanks and then 4 each men and artillery. So I got 16 units that are going to be moving into Poland this turn, and just going to hopefully be a relentless force that will one day end up in Moscow, and I'll be following it up with another big build of tanks. Italy got bombed by a couple of British bombers to the tune of $10, so that kind of hurt. So we didn't really, we built in it. Oh, I forgot to take 2 of these off. I repaired 2 so I could build, so I got to put 3 more damage on there. So it's down to 8 now, but of course they didn't bomb the Soviet factory over here, thinking that they'll want it back someday, I am sure. So that's about where we are right now. We are heading into round 5, and I don't know if they've shown their hand here. I don't know if they're going to zig and zag. I don't know if they're going to change their mind on things. But I tell you, the Italians are kind of licking their lips and looking at Brazil right now. Plus, if I go to Brazil, then we've got things like the Panama Canal I can take, and then maybe I can head to the western U.S. and grab something, because I'm sure they'll bulk that up. If I land here with Italy, they're going to have to bulk up the eastern U.S. So I'm sure they will do that. All right, folks. A lot of options for both players here. Moscow is saved for now. Don't think we have enough in the tank to take it, but they can't ignore the Italians. Viva l'Italia! Right, turn 5 is done, and it was an interesting round. So the big battle happened here in C-Zone 53, and I was able to sink everything. But I was left with nothing but a fighter and a bomber. He shredded me on round 1. Got more hits than I did. But I had to persevere because I wanted to kill those bloody transports. And he didn't build any replacement transports, so we're safe for the island hopping. He did build a destroyer, but I think I still might hit him with my bomber and 5 subs just to kind of clear out the Pacific a bit. He sank my battleship that was here. He had 2 bombers in Hawaii. I shot down 1, but he got me with 2 hits on the first round. China, mildly resurgent with 1 extra guy in there, but that's it. They didn't do any attacks. Over here we have captured the Suez, and we're starting to spread out a little bit. Sorry, I got my UK box or US box on there still. Over here we moved our Japanese fleet up here, and a little move by the Italians. Let's go take Brazil, so that's handy. Italy finished on 20, so they got 30 bucks this round. The Japanese decided to get into the bombing and bombed Britain for 6. I thought I bombed them for 9. Maybe I didn't put enough stuff out. No, I bombed him and then he repaired. But Germany certainly got beat up by the American bombers that were in Moscow. And they had to land in Norway. Tempted to go after them, but he built 3 tanks in Norway too. I bombed his factory for 6 damage because it was unopposed. And it's unopposed again this round, so I'll probably send a bomber or 2 there. Not much on the Eastern Front, except to say that sometimes I'm just too nice. When they were doing their British turn, they had finished with a couple of fighters and their 2 tanks here, and they were done. And I kind of felt badly because I was going to do this Italian can opener, and I've got 8 tanks, and I've got 3 bombers that can reach Moscow. And if he hadn't done this, I would have taken it. So I'd still attacked with the Italians, hoping to get lucky with the dice. I was not lucky with the dice, and he killed me in the first round. He killed all 9 of my units, 5 infantry and 4 tanks died. But without the Brits, there's a good chance I'd be taking Moscow again with the Germans right now. Now, it's not to say that I'm not going to come in here with a bunch of German stuff and put pressure on Moscow again, but I certainly could have taken it last round. Plus, the Japanese are going to be bringing in some heavy hitters. We'll have 6 tanks to hit Moscow with, and our bombers will probably head over to this side to help out with that. So I think Moscow's pretty much toast again. It's going to take 2 rounds at least, though. And over here, I had to build the navy that I knew I was going to have to replace, and then I built a bomber as well. So, yeah, we're not doing well for fleet in the Pacific right now, but neither is America. That tends to happen in this game. You don't see huge buildups typically. At some point, somebody pulls the trigger, and I'm just glad I was able to choose the time and place of the battle. But we're moving on to round 6 now. And I got to repair some damage. Get my boys back there working with the welders. We'll let you know how it goes right after this. Alright, turn 6. All done. And we are things are really heating up here. So we have the Pacific is definitely that now. Very pacified. His bombers took another run at I had a cruiser here this time though. And I was able to get 2 hits on that final attack. So, killed his bombers, he killed my cruiser, and got a hit. He got 2 hits as well, of course, but 1 off the battleship. And down here, I'm ready to invade Australia next turn. I'm going to have a bombard, 2 men, and a bomber. Hopefully it's enough to take it. China has been subdued. No more ability to make anything, and so we're going to be sending that tank up there, and the men will take Hubei. We have started to gobble up most of Africa, and we'll be getting some more. We've got this guy down here being kind of cheeky. This Russian sub has been causing me some grief here, so I finally built an Italian destroyer to help out the Italians who went and took the West Indies, and the Americans responded by building 2 battleships and 2 subs. Now they are within range now of my bombers in France, which is kind of cool. So I won't hit them with the German bomber because there's 2 battleships, but my 3 Japanese bombers might get lucky there, might be able to wear them down because they have a place to land, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they can land in the West Indies. So I think I'll probably try something like that. They got me for $16 though with Germany this time, so ouch. I was able to bomb Norway. Nothing there. I sent in 2 bombers and they're old Snake Eyes. Like, there's no anti-aircraft, and yeah, me and my Snake Eyes. But now we got American tanks here in Russia. But Moscow is under siege, and I think I'm going to take a poke at it here. I'm going to have 11 tanks, 3 men, about 6 or 7 artillery, and a couple of bombers. So if it doesn't fall, I think the Japanese might have a good shot at taking it next. And if it doesn't fall then the Italians might have a good shot at taking it. So I think Moscow's in a bit of a way. If I take Moscow, I think they'll probably sue for peace at that point. But who knows? Who knows what they will do? It's very late over in England right now, though. It's about 12:30 at night. So Hell on Wheels, being a heck of a guy, still fighting. So I'm going to cut this short now, and we will see what happens to Moscow for turn 7. Alright, the game has been called, a little bit on account of time, but also because it's looking like the writing on the wall. So Japan was able to capture down here, capture Sydney, and although Hawaii is in pretty good shape, I was able to build 6 units here. And I've got some good air power, and the ability to bombard is coming as well, and I can bring more units. I can bring some bombers back. Yeah, it's likely within 2 turns Hawaii would be falling, and then of course got to worry about loading up the western U.S., which he built some stuff in the east so he can skedaddle over there and grab it. But still, you don't want to be fighting on U.S. soil as the Allies. Over here, I completely forgot to take Hubei with my guys. I'm looking down and doing my non-coms, and I forgot to do that. And I also forgot to attack anybody with my African units. So I did ship this African boat over here, hoping to maybe sneak one in on them, but I wasn't able to do that. You'll notice that the Americans have 2 battleships here. They built 2 more. We knew this was the last round, so he decided just to have a nice navy. I brought my Japanese carrier and battleship out here, and I brought the fleet, the Italian fleet here, so a battleship, 2 cruisers, and a destroyer I just built. And he hit it with 2 battleships, 1 battleship, because I hit the battleships with my Japanese planes, my 3 bombers, but I got 3 hits on the first round, so I killed 1, damaged the other, but on the next round, I only had 1 shot left, and I missed, and then he shot me down. So didn't have to worry about landing anywhere. It's kind of handy. And then he came back here with 2 subs and his battleship and his 3 bombers, but I was able to withstand that. He had really rotten dice at the end there. The British have landed in northwestern Europe, just to add some British roundels on the mainland there. The Americans are up here. But up here, it's all over. Germany was able to take Russia. I only had 2 tanks left, had to give up my bombers at the end, and there was no way Russia had nothing left on the map except for the submarine, which made a suicide run at the Italians and didn't get a hit and died shortly after. So then it was Japan's turn, and Japan could just bring stuff into Moscow, but I thought I'm going to cut off Archangel as well. And then the Italians took Belarusia, and the British actually took the Baltic states, and I thought the Americans were going to zip through to Poland to grab Poland from me, but they decided to go into Belarus instead, because they couldn't zip through because the Italians took the Baltics back. So they just decided to do a little bit of fighting here. Now, a few takeaways from this game for both sides. It worked really well for me to go after Calcutta. Not really sure how to stop Japan taking Calcutta on round 2. There's I know in Global 40 in the out of box. I'm not sure about the other versions, but in Global 40 it's nigh impossible to stop the Japanese crush. They do like a J1, and by turn 3 they've taken Calcutta, and like mathematically it's almost impossible to stop them unless your dice get really hot, if they do a concerted effort. But I think in G40 the Japanese have got a bajillion planes. So I didn't use any planes to take India because that blasted anti-aircraft gun, you just never know. So I just used ground troops, but there was only one guy to fight because he had bailed everybody out hoping to bulk up Egypt, and he knew Calcutta was lost. Because Jeremy and I had actually talked about it when we thought we were going to be partners. We had talked about how I was going to go for India on round 2. I said, that's my goal, India round 2, factory round 3, round 4, I'm cranking out tanks. And that worked, more so because he had bailed out because he wanted to save his units, which was a good idea. But then I didn't have to use my fighters there, and I was able to use them in China. Up at the top here, I was very, very lucky on my first round of combat. I think I had four or five planes and a bomber going after Baratia. And I was able to hit it. Oh, no bomber, because I didn't have a bomber yet. I had a cruiser bombard, a bunch of planes, and a number of troops. And I got the 7 hits on the first round, I think, or something like that. It was an insanely good roll. And that sealed the deal right there, because now I could turn my attention here, and all I had to do was send one tank up here with a couple of guys, and that was it. Down here then, I didn't have to worry about the Chinese getting too big too quickly. In the Pacific, when he came down to the Hawaiian Islands with his battleship and a carrier, I had to hit that. And it was close. Like I say, I ended up with 2 units left at the end of it, a bomber and a fighter. And his fighter missed on the last round, so it could have been just a bomber I had left. But I had to, and it really shredded my economy, but the Americans didn't bother coming back. That was a real bloody nose. And if, as Japan, you can keep the Americans out of the Pacific, then it's usually curtains for Moscow if the Germans have been able to apply enough pressure. In the Pacific, the other thing that I did was, and I like doing this, is I like building a couple of subs on round 2, round 3, round 4, so that I end up with, 6, maybe 8 subs in the Pacific, and I keep them 3 spaces away from where the Americans are building up their fleet. And then I'll also build air power, and I'll usually have a capital ship or 2 down here that's 3 away, so he can't reach me with his boats, and when he comes to Hawaii, then I can hit him with everything I got. So that's what I like to do, and it worked out for me this game. I'm telling you all my trade secrets here, but I don't think it's any rocket science. I think that's what a lot of guys, it's happened to me so often. I've learned from taking dirty beatings at the hands of experts. So the Italians had a very fortunate game. They were never under threat. They did get bombed again, or repeatedly, but we had to, once we got the Caucasus, we were talking about it at the end of the game, is that I took the Caucasus and I took it with, I think I had 7 Italian units plus a couple of bombards, and he had 5 guys, and I hit for 4, I think, on the first round of combat, and then I finished him off on the second, and he only got 1 hit on me in that battle. So the first round of combat he got 1 hit, and when that happens, yeah, that's pretty bad. So I had 6 units in the Caucasus on round 3, I think it was, and the Russians were under duress from the Germans and just couldn't risk going into the Caucasus for fear of losing Russia. And so, yeah, I was able to take that, and that really set the tone for the war, as the Italians now are able to build men here. Even though our factory got bombed over here, I wasn't building there. I could just build here and apply pressure directly to Moscow. And that was a hugely important moment. Plus, the Italians had a really good economy the entire game. We had typically between 16, 18 bucks on the chart. We're up to 21 right now at the end of the game, or 20 because we lost Belarusia. But we were getting our both bonuses from about round 5 on, so I was getting the extra 10 bucks. And yeah, so I was able to build my 4 men each round, and then I'd build 2 tanks, maybe 3 tanks here, depending on if I had saved. And yeah, it was just a steady stream of love and affection headed into Russia. And that made things very difficult on the Soviets. They did an excellent job bringing in a multinational force into the Soviet Union. I just think it was just too much stuff coming at them. And I think it was just too little too late. A couple of factories. There was talk of building another American factory in Finland. So 5 tanks a turn, right? That would be pretty special. To add to that, the Russian stuff being built and the British stuff being shuttled over, that would have been a lot more pressure on Germany and Italy. But didn't happen, and if it had, maybe there'd be less pressure on the Italian fleet, and who knows, we might have been able to take more stuff and have a little bit more fun. So, all right, well, that's everything. We really hope you enjoyed watching this one, and we are looking forward to our next tilt. Big thanks again to Hell on Wheels. This is the map that he created, if you haven't seen any of those videos of mine. He created this map, put the battle board on, which matched my hit dice colors. Very thoughtful, and it also has the Hilltop Pillbox right there. Look at that. So I thought that was really, really nice of him, really top shelf, so that was great. But as we say here at the Hilltop Pillbox, hug your loved ones, thank your friends for playing. So thank you, Jeremy, and thank you, Hell on Wheels, for playing. We really appreciated it, and the dice were good to me today. The dice were good to me. Not all the time, but at important times. And we all know we'd rather have good dice at the key moments than, great dice when it doesn't really matter too much. I had a few turns here where I only had to kill one thing, and I'd get 3 out of 3 hits. I'm like, uh-oh. And sure enough, the next turn I wouldn't get any, but they were usually non-battles, things that didn't really matter too much. Such as this Belarusian battle. He only had to kill, I think I had 2 things in there. I didn't get any hits on him. And it didn't matter though, right? So you don't mind losing those battles. I had good timing today and good luck with the dice. It really made me look better than I am. So there you have it. But thanks for watching, folks. And again, we're repeating it, but it's important. Hug your loved ones. Thank your friends for playing. And we'll just zoom in on a little bit of the Deadpool. This isn't everything, but this is kind of the last round. May those dice be with you.